So welcome to this amazing place, and thank you very much for the invitation. It's an honor to be here. And first of all, I don't want this to sound too condescending, but huge amount of thanks to all of you and all of you and the cameras, etc., for the work that you do at the schools, etc. Occasionally, very rarely, we get things a little bit wrong, and we kind of upset things. And you're the ones who fix it and make the schools keep running and do all the wonderful things that you do. So Microsoft really appreciates that. You know, you're the workforce that makes it all work and makes it all happen. We genuinely appreciate it. I'm so excited to be here. I've never been to this venue before. I think it's amazing. I'm sure you'd all prefer if you go around the centre and the museum rather than speaking to me. So I'll move on without further ado. Okay, so what are we about? So we've had our new CEO in for nearly 4 years, Satya Nadella, and he's made a few changes. One of the first things he did was to make the Office suite available on the Apple kit, etc., and other devices. So it's a more open, loving, caring Microsoft, more open. Our platform, our cloud platform, so you may be familiar with the Azure platform, which is for build it yourself. It's like a do-it-all for IT data centers. You go in and build your own stuff. Over 40% of the services in there are now open source. We signed a deal last year with Red Hat. Hell froze over. Let's be honest. Red Hat and Microsoft working together. So it's a new world. It's a new world that we're working in. And that's all about the focus on the customer. What do the customers want? Whether it's commercial customers, educational customers, what do they want? And they're long gone. And we may look at them back these days in nostalgic sort of view, but long gone are the days where the only IT that staff and students have was what you provided. Long gone, unfortunately. Right now we've got new teachers coming in, we've got students, so there's a growing number of students and staff, teachers allowing students to use IT, their own IT, in classes. So their own mobile devices, etc. And that's great, it's exciting, it's appropriate, it changes the way teaching is done, etc. But a bit of a challenge for all of us in terms, we've got to look after the boring stuff like compliance, data protection and privacy. And while some of the consumer-based and social media type interfaces are kind of cool to use and maybe appropriate in some areas, when we start sharing information about the school and pupil information, can't really do that. So how do we do that? And there's perhaps a perception that we are seen as blockers to IT. The IT teams are seen as blockers. We are the teachers, the students want to do this. And you're saying, well, actually, can't really do that because security is a key. So we'll address that as we go on. But complete change in the landscape in terms of the approach to IT from teachers and students and the adoption of IT, and wanting to change the way things are done. Many years ago, we used to have a picture of a very old classroom, literally old blackboard, literally slates on the desks, etc. And the format of the rows and rows of chairs. And then we'd have a picture of a modern classroom, the digiboard at the front and laptops, but still the format was the same, rows and rows of desks and chairs. And so the change in terms of teaching, the delivery of teaching and learning, hasn't undergone that kind of change that was expected. But we're beginning to see this with flipped classroom and blended learning. I'm sure you've heard your teachers and your staff members talking about that, a change in approach. And so we'll cover that as we go through. But so what we're about in terms of our strategy, it's about empowering the students, the staff members today, to be the leaders of tomorrow. It is a kind of a cheesy phrase, but the leaders of tomorrow are in the classrooms of today. It is a literal description of what's going on. And so how can we empower them? How can we get them to focus on creativity and learning and all that exciting stuff? And making sure that IT doesn't get in its way. Challenge is that schools can be, and colleges and universities can be quite complex places. An awful lot going on in there. IT teams are going to manage all of that. And so it's trying to focus that into real outcomes in terms of 21st century skills, equity and empowerment. So equity meaning equality, meaning accessibility. ensuring that students of today do have access to the technologies of today. Those who with learning difficulties, etc. I'll cover that as we go on. And personalised learning. So it's empowering the students today is what we're kind of focused on. And the idea is to provide platforms, tools, and all that good stuff that you know and love from Microsoft to help with teaching and learning. And what we're trying to do as we're moving forward, we've been around for over 30 years now in the UK, is to try to make things a little bit more simple. There was a survey done recently by Gartner where it said over 80% of your time and budget is spent on just keeping the lights on in terms of IT. And as I go around speaking to schools, colleges, universities, actually that's kind of increased. I was talking to a university the other day where over 90% of their time and budget was spent on just keeping the lights on in terms of IT. Quite huge, complex environments. And so if we can give you back another 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% of that to focus on what the school, what the college is about, teaching and learning, about creativity, about innovation, then that's all good. And to help you, empower you to help the leaders in the school to do that. And so that's kind of where our focus is at the moment, to empower better outcomes and learning, etc. So, yeah, so huge amounts of initiatives from Microsoft at the moment in terms of trying to enable all of that. It's making digital literacy and computer science education accessible to all. And this is just not about Microsoft stuff. It's about science and technology. We can't fulfill the roles, regardless of what the economy is like. IT and its ecosystem, IT and its partners, its commercial customers, staff, IT staff in colleges, universities, we can't get enough people. We never have been able to. The demand for IT is growing and will grow as new services come in, analytics, artificial intelligence, etc. So the demand is there for IT. But also, in terms of other sectors, you know, there aren't many roles now where you will never use IT. IT goes across sector. So regardless of the role that any student goes into in the future, whether it's academic, whether it's commercial, finance, central government, whatever it may be, they will hit IT. And so it needs to be endemic in what we're doing in terms of teaching and learning, making it tools. I have a daughter. My daughter's got two grandchildren. Two children. I've got two grandchildren. And the youngest, Sienna, she swaps between her iPad, that's her dad's, and my Surface Book. She can switch with. You know, she's 3 years old. She can switch between the two of them seamlessly. It's just a secondary tool. It's just something that she can get access to the videos she wants to watch, the games she likes to play, the educational tools that we put on there. She can flick between the two without even thinking about it. And it's amazing. We've got kids in schools who, I don't know if in your own schools, your experience, kids in schools helping with IT, coming up with new ideas. We had a presentation the other day to a whole bunch of IT professionals from universities, colleges, and schools down in London, and we had a 16-year-old present. And I don't know if you've heard of the Microsoft's BizSpark program. Microsoft's BizSpark program, basically it helps with startups. So basically for up to 3 years, we give away our stuff, cloud stuff, services, software, etc., for small businesses. And under special permission, we had to get special permission from him. He signed up for it. It's got his own business. He writes apps under the .NET framework using cloud technologies, and he's written an educational app. He's also got an app tracking the current election and how that's progressing. 16 years old. 16 years old. Just amazing in terms of once we start giving the tools to these kids, what they can do with it. And the future bodes well, I think. I'm very positive about it in terms of addressing the needs of humanity. Some of the big issues that we have as a human race. I think there's lots of innovation and creativity coming along. And the focus will be the innovation and creativity, not the fact that I can't do it because IT is getting in the way. The idea is that IT becomes an enabler for all of that. So, what's new with Microsoft Education? Some new devices coming out. dollar price at the moment. We've got them in the UK. I'll go through that in a little bit. So lower cost devices, 2-in-1s, touch devices, inking. Invested a huge amount of money, Microsoft, even got NASA involved, which is kind of pertinent given where we are in terms of the museum here. In terms of the inking and the experience of inking, what we found was lots of teachers, lots of lecturers like to ink, like to draw, write, etc., like to annotate. So we've invested a huge amount in ensuring that the notebooks, the PCs, the laptops that we have and our partners produce have an excellent experience in terms of inking. I'll come to that a little bit. Windows 10s we announced, which is a new choice for Windows customers. So yes, we're going to continue with Windows as it is, so you can load your own applications and services, etc. But what we found in perhaps subjects where you don't need so much tech, where you don't need so many options, is to provide a service that enables teachers to start up really, really quickly using the devices, battery life that lasts the whole day, 14 hours plus, and very simple and easy to use without all the options. Now, still have the full-blown stuff for IT courses and for the more in-depth courses that students want to do and schools want to do, colleges, etc. But the idea of Windows X is that it provides a more simple environment. Easy startup, easy to manage, easy to control, applications that are verified through the Microsoft Store. It only runs Microsoft applications through the App Store and partners, of course, but they're verified, they're checked for security, etc. And so I'll cover that a little bit. Microsoft Teams, focus on that a little bit more. So, anybody use WhatsApp? WhatsApp? Anybody use WhatsApp? Yeah. So kind of Teams is kind of WhatsApp with more tech behind it as well. Why are we introducing these types of services? So who's using Office 365 though? I remember the first time I asked that 4 years ago, and I had one hand go up, and we've been working with them. So that's great to see that, for everybody. And hopefully you're getting good experiences from that. Yeah, okay, good. So no chairs came this way, so I'm taking that as a positive. So with Office 365, obviously you've got the engines underneath that in terms of the exchange and the messaging and queuing, etc. And you've got SharePoint that manages control, that manages the underlying document stores, version control, security, etc., etc. But at the front end, we're introducing more and more services, as you may have seen. We keep adding more services. And they're kind of social media type services. So you've got Yammer, you've got Teams, you've got Sway, that type of thing. And the reason for doing that is what I said earlier, is that if staff member can't, teacher can't do what they want to do from your good selves, they'll tend to bypass and start using shadow IT. And that may be appropriate, arguably, but the challenge is that then the compliance stuff comes in, data protection, privacy, etc., etc. We can't have that kind of information out in social media tools. So the idea is to provide social media style tools. So your teachers are familiar with them, students are familiar with them, they look and feel like Facebook, they look and feel like WhatsApp, etc. But they're contained within a compliant environment that you manage. You've got all the stores backed up, etc., etc. And so that's what we're doing at the front end, to provide you with these tools so your staff and students don't have to go outside and start introducing shadow IT. And so that's our kind of focal point in terms of doing that. Windows 10 Razor Edition, again, a huge amount of exciting stuff that we've added in there in terms of 3D type technology, and there, so simplified testing. There's a whole range of services that I'll go into a little bit now. Intune for education. So anybody using Intune at all? Anybody using Intune? Yes, so Intune. Maybe in a few years, there'll be a few more people. We're not working with you with it, but thank you. So Intune for education is, again, it was simplified. It made it a lot easier, so it's very easy to manage. Because, of course, on the one side, we want services to be easy. We want teachers to be able to use their own devices, potentially, bring your own device. Mix of devices, arguably education, you need that mix of devices, whether it's Apple, whether it's Chromebooks, yes, I said Chromebooks, whether it's PCs, whether it's laptops, etc. It's that mix of environment. By its very nature, education needs that mix of environment to give the students that experience, etc. But the challenge in doing all that is how do you manage all that? You've got lots of devices to manage. And so Intune enables you to do that. And so again, compliance and all that data protection stuff, we can control all that whilst giving the rich experience that the teachers and the students want. Minecraft, anybody using Minecraft in schools or teachers using it in the schools? Someone shakes. Do you know, I am a little bit old, I know it doesn't show, but I cut my teeth on Spectrums and ZX81s and Commodore 64s, and I look at Minecraft and I think, wow, it's kind of Commodore 64 type gaming. But it's fantastic. Kids just love it. They just love it. My grandson comes to me every morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. Pa, let's play Minecraft. And we're building stuff and we're doing stuff, and it's just amazing. And they love it. And they love it. Teachers are using it to teach geography and history and science. It's just an amazing environment. So with the Minecraft Education Edition, you can start programming in there. So it's helping the kids understand how to build. So rather than build blocks individually, they can actually do it programmatically. They can do it quicker by adding some programming into it. So it's getting the kids to understand the programming languages, etc. So that's a positive thing. And then learning tools, accessibility. So this is a huge impact. Huge impact. My son, my oldest son, he very, very dyslexic, struggles to read, needs all sorts of help in terms of doing that. Huge amount of input. We've invested a huge amount of money in terms of accessibility. And I'll show you that a little bit later as we go through. So yeah, first of all, affordable devices. Idea is that over the summer, hopefully you'll see some new devices coming through from our partners, which are very low cost, 2-in-1s, touch devices, inking built in with Windows, and there's a whole range of partners that are working there in terms of delivering them. So lower cost devices, hopefully the quality devices, robust, as I say, touch, inking built in, Windows 10 or Windows 10S as part of that. So that'll be a range of them. Windows 10 for education. So again, we introduced the creators update with a whole range of services in which can be used for education. And again, this is the sort of full-blown version. So Windows Hello, so logging in via face recognition rather than user ID and password or PIN numbers or whatever. Stronger security, so we've enhanced the Windows Defender side of things. Again, Microsoft Edge got a lot of security built into it to stop kids and staff members getting into trouble with some of the issues in terms of security, etc. Also, lots and lots of huge amount of tools that I'll go into in a moment. The idea is that we've got the inking built in, as I say, so enhanced inking. And again, as I say, the pens that we've been working with ourselves, with our Surface Books and Surface devices. We've worked with NASA in terms, I think that's really cool, that we've worked with NASA on a pen. And the idea is the original pens that we came out with kind of skidded across this, they didn't feel like writing. Obviously, when you write on a piece of paper with a pen or a pencil, you get that drag. You get a little bit of friction. And you're used to that. That's what you're used to when you're writing. And so we worked with NASA on a nib that provides that drag across the screen. It feels like writing on a piece of paper. And that's a huge amount of tech just going into that thing. And that makes it much more accessible for the students. Range of performant education devices, as I mentioned. Easy to set up PCs really quickly. One of the challenges of the full-blown Windows edition is, sometimes it takes time to set this stuff up. So we're trying to improve that, make it so that for those full-blown OSs that you want in these classes, easier to set up, easier to manage, easier to control if you don't want Windows 10S. Some of the quotes that we've had from schools, so obviously we'll make these slides available to you, I won't read them out or anything like that. But again, some quotes around inking, which has been huge, some quotes around accessibility, and over 400 million devices now around the world using Windows 10, just Windows 10 or Windows 8, Windows 7. So a huge amount. We talked about the devices. Put an awful lot more effort into making Edge a browser of choice. So better workflow control, switching between devices, between applications and services, being able to copy data and use data, so teachers being able to use data straight from the website into OneNote, into other services, making that available to students and staff across the web. Unified reading experience, so we can share, etc., and faster search engines behind it. Introducing Story Remix, which is kind of enhanced video editing. I don't know if you've seen this. Anybody seen this? It's a really cool. It's still in preview. Microsoft Research are building it. It's where you can. We'll show you the demo if you come over. There's one of the demonstrations shows a standard, family on video, and then an elephant comes up behind them. And you can do all kinds of exciting video remixing, etc. Really easily to help the students in terms of their creativity and using videos, etc. Take a test. Again, another service that we've had. It's a formative assessment, so it's basically a tool to help teachers, to help students go through assessments and tests, etc. that we've built into Windows 10. So integrated with the key accessibility needs, and I'll show you a demonstration of that in a little moment. So just one of the services there. Windows 10s quick facts. So you've got the Home Edition and all the services that it can have and use. Windows S Edition. Again, the idea is that quick startup, not the full platform. So maybe for you use it in classes where you don't need that full operating system functionality, you don't need all that options and all the tech that we provide, but you just need it for a specific role. You might need it for the Office 365 environment, or you might need it for Minecraft, or some of the Windows apps that you get in the Windows Store. So it's not the full-blown version. And because of that, the operating system just needs some of the components, so it uses less power, so the battery on the device lasts 14 hours plus, it's easy to start. So won't go into details in this in terms of time, but I'll leave this with you in terms of the graphic and the presentations that you can see. So it gives you that. You've got the options of your Windows S and some of your classes, for the classes that only need some standard IT functionality, and then you've got the more enhanced operating system for science and for IT type classes. Does that make sense? Yeah. So as I say, and one of the aspects of it was, again, the Windows operating system, obviously you can do all sorts of huge amounts of options and stuff like that. Challenges are opening up to the internet. What we find is people downloading applications, not doing the due diligence in terms of making sure that app is good for the school. It might look fantastic, but is there any malicious stuff built into that application if you're just downloading it from the internet? So going Windows 10s only allows applications to be loaded from the Windows Store, where they've all been tested, they'll be verified, ensure that there's no malicious software built into it. So the Windows 10s only allows applications from the Windows Store, the education store, in terms of education. So that's good. Obviously, as to come back is, well, we need more applications in the Windows Store. We're working with a whole range of partners at the moment to ensure that their applications are in the store, Adobe and others, to make sure that their applications are in the store. So when you download it, you know it's been tested for Windows 10. There's no malicious applications or viruses or whatever in the application itself. And that's one of the key things that does. Performance, streamlined, simplifies to run faster and longer. So you're still getting the Windows features, etc. But as I say, it's for apps, lessons and classes that don't need that in-depth operating system availability, etc. You can switch free from Windows 10s to Pro through your education services, etc. So if you did want to switch the device to the full one, you can do that and switch back if you wanted to. As I say, kind of use scenarios, as I mentioned, it's more for standard-based IT functionality. That we use the Microsoft Edge as the default browser in there, as you can imagine. Again, there's enhancements in terms of security, the Office 365 environment, which we're adding more and more to, access to the social media type services within 365, so you've got that security and compliance wrap around it, Minecraft, etc., and more applications as we'll go on. Windows 10 Creators Update, again, One of the biggest things that we've had feedback from the teachers, they like the idea of this 3D. So I've just seen Microsoft Paint 3D, so you can draw in 3 dimensions. It's kind of really, really cool. We've got students doing amazing things that I couldn't do in terms of creating 3D type images. And linking that with 3D printing, so I can then print out my 3D image on a 3D printer. So again, lots of enhancements in terms of doing that. So again, it's all about that innovation and creativity, getting the kids to think about exciting new services. Obviously, you can run the fully installed Office applications on Windows 10s, so the client version as well as the browser-based version. So if they're out in the field with the device, there's no internet available, they can still do stuff on the devices, etc. Come back, sync, so away we go to Office 365 itself. And obviously, you can switch between the devices. Quick facts again. As I say, in terms of Intune is cloud-based PC device management from operating system level, data protection, privacy across devices. So it's not just Microsoft devices, it's other devices as well. Making sure that they're kept up to date in terms of protection, kept up to date in terms of privacy. Obviously with GDPR coming down the line, making sure that they're compliant with that when the full compliance comes out. Zero trust management in terms of the device, but we've also simplified the user interface. So this particular version, Intune for Education, we've simplified it so it's easy to get the devices registered with the environment, deploy applications, services, patches if required, and manage the device accordingly. Also part of that is, for instance, let's say somebody has an iPad, they're using OneDrive for school stuff, information. You can have it so that they can't copy files from the OneDrive to their personal Dropbox, Google Drive, Microsoft personal OneDrive. So even on the same device, they can't copy information between the two environments. So it keeps it, even on the device, it keeps the school stuff within the school. And if the teacher or staff member leaves the school, we can wipe that part of the environment. So the data goes, the applications go, but it doesn't wipe their personal stuff. So there's a distinction between their personal data and information and their school data and information. So that's good. That enables them to use the device, but then you're compliant in terms of ensuring that there's no mixing between their personal environments and the school data environments. So again, trying to help with simplicity, use of devices anytime, anywhere, but also with a keen eye on compliance and data protection, etc. Again, accessibility. Let me show you this actually. Is anybody using OneDrive? Sorry, OneNote. Anybody using OneNote and staff and students using OneNote? Anybody not seen OneNote before? Anybody not know what OneNote is? Okay, that's good. Okay, good man. Thank you. So let me just flick down to OneNote here. So this is my life before I joined Microsoft. I used to use a file fax. I know. Ordinary. I used to have all my files and my tabs and everything all laid out and bits of paper hanging out of it and all sorts. This is my new file fax. This is fantastic. So on the left-hand side here, the gentleman over there, we've got a library of all my notebooks. At home, I've got a shelf and a half full of my own notebooks, physical notebooks. This is my new digital library of all my notebooks, personal stuff, school stuff. I'm a governor at a college, and so I've got college stuff in there. In fact, at the college I was at, I used to get monthly printouts of all the governor details, like that. The poor lady used to have to do it because you can't send it to the print room because of the sensitivity. You used to have to do this every month, mass them, and then send them out to all the governors. So we put it in OneNote. Revolutionary, absolutely revolutionary. Because I can search all my past information. Of course, we've been able to do this for years and years and years, but revolutionary to the college when we joined it last year. So in terms of governors and security and managing all that information that your school governors look at, it's a great tool to use. And you've got OneNote for staff, as well as OneNote for classroom. So if you know that, there's OneNote for staff, and that's what we can use for governor type information. So this is where we use the client application, which is this environment, As I said, all my OneNotes are there. I can put a security wrap around it. I can share that, of course. So the idea with the governors is that the head of governance, she can create this single OneNote. She can create content that can't be changed, because that represents all the notes that are legally being signed, so we can't change them. And then there's an area that we can collaborate on. There's an area that's only between me and the head of the governance. And that's shared in OneDrive. So this is 365 in terms of storage, and just being able to share that amongst all our governors. But of course, they can take it around any device, whether it's a mobile device, Apple, Android, Microsoft device, work on it offline, review the notes, syncs back up centrally, everybody sees it. So it's a great tool. It's a fantastic tool. So as I say, I've got my library of all my books there. Once I open one book, and I've got my Microsoft activity open there, then I've got all my tabs that represent my activity in Microsoft. I've got my Office 365 one open at the moment, as you can see, and then I've got sort of chapters, if you like, that represent. So it breaks it down really nicely. As you can see, somebody uses Filefax. It's wonderful in terms of collating all that information and managing it, etc. So that's great. It's really cool. It's a cool device. Whenever you store something in 365, by the way, 6 copies are made in your default data center. That's replicated to a secondary data center, another 6 copies are made. And those copies are spread across buildings. So when we talk about a data center, we talk about at least 3 buildings, the size of football pitches, full of kit. Huge amounts of kit. And so replication, backup, payloads, all taken care of, etc. Oh, by the way, just as an aside, those of you with 365, which most of you put your hands up, there's a window of opportunity. I don't know if you know, last year we announced 2 data centers in the UK. Yeah? There's a window of opportunity, and I'll provide the link for you, to move your 365 environment, which is probably typically running in Dublin, to UK. So anybody signed up for that already? Yeah, good man. Yeah, excellent. Well done. On the ball. Very good. So those of you who haven't, there's an opportunity to do that. In terms of GDPR, that's European, that's okay. For Brexit, etc. So that an opportunity to move your 365 environment to UK mainland data centers. And that's a positive thing. So yeah, so this is client-based OneNote, syncing up to OneDrive, so it's it's protected, all that failover, etc. It's just cool. It's just really cool. But Microsoft research worked in terms of accessibility. As I say, a huge amount of pupils, as you probably know, struggle with reading, writing, getting the information out, etc. And you've got amazing examples of students who really, really struggle to write their ideas down, doing amazing things with the accessibility tools I'd like to show you. So right on the top part, here we've got something called learning tools. And this is developed by Microsoft Research specifically for the education market. Now it's being used commercially as well, but this is specifically for education. Kids who struggle to read. And you know the kids who, one of the things the teachers say when we're talking to them is they lose their overlays. Right? Kids use overlays to help read, pick up the yellow ones or purple ones or whatever, maybe. They lose them. So this is all built in. So it's really cool. So I go into the immersion tools, and immediately what it does, it provides the overlay of my choice. So immediately there's a green overlay. And immediately, as you can see, it's taken out, it's obviously got all this functionality of OneNote, etc. It's taken out all that text and going to forward enlarge the text. And so the idea is to make that easy to read. Now I can change that, I can adapt it accordingly. If I go over to the top here, I can obviously increase the size of the text. I can increase the spacing if I want to, or reduce it accordingly. I can change the font to a different type of fonts. I can change the overlay, and other colors are available, so I can change the overlay accordingly. So just a simple thing like that means an awful lot to people. But also, I can go into the top here, in terms of comprehension. I can highlight the verbs. I don't know if you saw that. Picked out all the verbs in the text. Yeah, so it picks out all verbs. I can pick out the nouns, so in purple now, picked out all the nouns. The adjectives, and so on. I can highlight them all if I wanted to. So just helping kids understand by highlighting these type of things. Now, I can also have it so that it reads it to you. So now I don't know, I probably should have plugged this in for those on the camera, but I'll switch it up as high as it'll go. So it'll take the text, wherever the text comes from, and it'll start reading that out to me. Now that text could be a picture of text, so there's some information that a teacher has snipped from the internet or whatever, and put it into OneNote, pick up the text from within the picture, and read it out. This has had a significant effect on the lives of kids in terms of helping them understand. Now, that accessibility toolkit is available in OneNote on the client version, cross devices. We've just put it into Word Online. We're going into Excel Online, to PowerPoint, etc., etc. So it'll be across all our tools. And we'll continue to enhance this as well. So we're working with educators in terms of enhancing this. But it's a really good tool to make your teachers aware. Of course, we've got this as part of your package. It's free. It's all part. There's no charge for this, etc. So is that kind of good for those of you? Yeah, that's really good. How would you find it? Yeah. Good. The other thing we can do, as I say, I can share a OneNote book. I can share OneNote by my OneDrive again within 365, so it's all compliant, it's encrypted, it's all linked, etc., backed up. I can share that with other people, so students can share with other students or staff members, etc., if they want to, if they're allowed to. But one of the other things that we're doing, anybody using Class Notebook? Anybody aware of Class Notebook? Yeah, a few people. Okay, so Class Notebook enables a teacher to set up a Class Notebook. So the teacher manages one notebook for all the students, and each student gets an individual copy. So a lot going in the background in terms of synchronization. So let me take you through the routine. So if I wanted to set up a class notebook, a new class notebook, so immediately it goes to 365. Now this can be done automatically. So we introduced something called School Data Sync earlier in the year. Anybody using School Data Sync? So this enables me to pre-populate some of this information that I'm going to put in manually. So in terms of class names, in terms of student names, and I can pull information from student information systems, etc., into 365 to pre-populate this stuff, so that I don't have to go in there. Let's just log in with my. So it's logged in with normally it would do single sign because I'm logged in with my Microsoft account. Let's see if it'll do. Bear with me a moment. Let's just set that up. Oops. Have I typed in that wrong? I can't type when you're looking at me. You just type.
It's password 1, 2, 3.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Does that say? No, you can't see it. Does that say teach? I haven't got the glasses. Does that say teach to learn? Don't know. Let's just try that. Is that a valid idea? Just bear in mind. So as I say, because you've all got this set up for a single sign-on, this will take you through to yours. Because I wasn't diligent enough in setting it up myself beforehand. Right, okay, so single sign-on, we'll take you straight to there. Another thing, this can be pre-populated, so it's prompting me now for the name of my class. Using a school data sync, which is basically taking information for your school information system, your register, whatever it may be, whatever you want to sync into 365, above and beyond identity, passwords, this is about school information, class information, etc. I can pre-populate this in class information, etc. if you want to. I'm going to put this in. I'm going to put space class because of where we are. I'll put that in there. So basically, this is a workflow. And what this will do, it will create a OneNote environment. Now, this is great sync between what's happening on the client and what's happening in 365. And it can also be used browser-based across browser, across device, etc. So what it's going to do is going to create a OneNote environment for the teacher that has a collaboration space, and that's where everybody can do anything they want. It's like a whiteboard. You can just throw in ideas. This is where your innovation, your creativity, it's crazy. We can do all sorts of ideas and swapping. The teacher monitors it, of course, but everybody, all the kids and the teacher can throw in ideas, and that could be great for a specific assignment, for flipped learning, etc. Then there's a content library. Only the teacher and or teaching assistants can create the information. The students can only view it. So this could be assignment information, it could be details around the essay or the class that they're doing, etc. It's fixed content from the student's perspective. It's editable from the teacher's perspective. Make sense? Fantastic. And then there's the student notebooks. So each student has their own notebook, but viewed as a tab from the teacher's perspective. So one class notebook for the teacher. In the tab, you've got all their individual student names. You go into that, you can see all their assignments. And that can only be seen between the student and the teacher and or class assistants. Does that make sense? So it's a really great environment. And of course, being a OneNote environment, it syncs then. So in the background, what this will do, it creates the central OneNote for the teacher with all the tabs in. It'll create an individual OneNote for the student. And then, of course, that gets replicated to the student's device. So if they're literally in the field, with some devices taking pictures, having some text or recording audio or whatever it may be, in the field, no internet available, it's going straight into the OneNote. As soon as they get back into range of the internet or back to class, it will sync back up to the student's individual notebook and then sync to the central notebook for the teacher. And that's all happening in the background. It's all transparent. That's all happening in the background. It's a really great environment, really exciting. And we're getting to the point we've got some of our leading schools where they're literally paperless. So all the assignments, all the information, there's just no paper needed. It's all run through this environment. And as I say, it's a great sync between 365 and the OneNote environment. So I can give another teacher assistant permissions from a teacher's perspective in this environment. And then I can add the student's data. Again, prompted me to do that manually. This can be pre-populated for using School Data Sync. School Data Sync, by the way, is a free service to 365. It's not, there's no charge for that. So plugging in your school information services, your register, whatever it may be, syncing that up into 365, it's a free service. Obviously, again, we need you to set that up, or come to us and we'll have to get it set up. So now we go through that and set that up. It creates some default tabs, handouts, class notes, homework. You can change them. You can decide not to have them. The teacher can set them up and change them, of course. And then just gives you sort of visualization of what the teacher will see and a visualization of what the student will see, and goes ahead and creates that book. So as I say, it's creating that background, syncing it all up. There's failover, version control all built into it. Really great environment for teachers. And we've got some excitement. With OneNote, as you're probably aware, supports full inking, so teachers can do annotation. We've got a lot of teachers actually, rather than inking or annotating, they're actually providing audio feedback to assignments. So they'll record an audio. We had one teacher who was in a conference, recorded a video from the conference, showed the kids some of the conference within the OneNote, just save that, within the OneNote environment. So it's kind of a cool. Go to the final page, it says it's all being joined. You can view it in a browser, so it's browser-based access as well as the client. And I can download the the notebook add-in, which is the class notebook add-in if I want to. And then there's interactive training for the teacher to get familiar with the environment. So it's all built in. So it's a nice area, and as I say, it's collaboration. So really cool. So OneNote, very, very cool. And as I say, that accessibility feature is available in Word Online. It'll be made with Word in the client. We'll be making it available across all our productivity services. Kind of cool? Yeah? One of the other things, anybody using Mix? Anybody heard of Mix? Yeah, good. Some nods at the back there. That keeps me honest. Right, so again, we've got this idea of flipped classroom, blended learning, changing the way in which teachers deliver content and get classes moving and doing stuff that's perhaps more creative and more innovative. So rather than rows and rows of people like you are today, and the teacher at the front, what we want is kids to be coming in, collaborating, sharing ideas, teams. So rather than one person imparting knowledge, the idea is that you've got 30-odd people in the class sharing knowledge and experience with each other. And it makes it much more innovative and creative. So the idea there is that rather than do the class, do the homework after it, you put the homework before the class, and what you're about to deliver in the class, you deliver as a video or as some other content media stream before the class. The kids come in, and then they're ready to collaborate, having had the knowledge beforehand. That makes sense? So there's that idea of flipped classroom blended learning. So to try and augment that, what Microsoft Research said, well, what can we do to help that? You know, this whole idea of flipped classroom blended learning. And Microsoft Research said, well, okay, there's an awful lot of teachers have an awful lot of content in PowerPoint. Still use PowerPoint, good old PowerPoint, been around a long, long time. Lots and lots of information and content in PowerPoint. So how can we use that? How can we utilize that kind of stuff that's lying there? It's in PowerPoint, that's what we use in class. How can we use that for flipped classroom? And so the idea is that with Mix, is that we can create a video of the teacher presenting what they would have done in class to the kids beforehand. They see that beforehand. Teacher finds out if they looked at the video, so there's a test halfway through or whatever, just to make sure teacher gets feedback on that. And then they come into class and then they collaborate and do all sorts of interesting stuff based on the stuff they just learned before the class. That makes sense? Yeah. So the idea is I take existing content and then I create a slide recording. Now, I can set it up first. So I go to the Mix. Mix is free. There's no charge for it. It's been developed by Microsoft Research. It's free for education. It's been developed specifically for teachers and lecturers. Specifically for teachers and lecturers. And so I go into this Mix tab. I can do my slide recording. I can add bits and pieces, so it's not just PowerPoint. I can go outside. I can take snips of web pages. I can add video from other sources, etc. So it's a complete mixed environment, and bring that all into the single video recording studio. So it's kind of cool in terms of what you do. Also, I can add a quiz. So halfway through, this video will stop. The kids will have to interact before it moves on. After answer some questions, teacher gets feedback on that in terms of supporting the flipped classroom blended learning environment. So when we're ready to go, we go to the slide recording. Comes up with a studio, kind of a recording studio, if you like. And on the right-hand side here, I can add myself, or maybe I'll add you guys. There we go. There we go. There's you lot up there. So the idea here is that based on research, not Microsoft research, pedagogical, teacher-based research, etc. Even though this is a video that teachers will provide, if they can still see the teacher, then they tend to be more engaged with the presentation. Yeah, so that's kind of part of this whole flipped classroom blended learning. They can still see the teacher presenting, even though it's a video, they'll tend to be more engaged. So the idea then is that the teacher then, once everything's set up, they're ready to go, they choose so they can set up annotations as well as part of the presentation. Go to the record button, you get this dotted line out. Now it's in recording mode, so I'm recording. And then it record also all the annotations I make as the teacher, as I'm going through the whole presentation. Stop that. I've done my record. I can review it. I can go through it itself. See, so as you say, it puts the recording in the top right-hand corner. I have to be aware of that. I can close that, and I can make that immediately available. Now, it saves it as a video file. I can put that video file anywhere. However, there's an option to publish it directly to 365 video, because as you know, with 365, you've got the video side of things. So this is metadata storage around videos, but again, contained within the 365 environment, metadata around the video stored, etc. So it's all searchable, and teachers can get their own channel. So it's not a storage area, it's a channel. That's cool. And so they can publish this. As soon as they publish the video to the channel, anybody where that channel is shared, so any of the students will immediately get a notification to say there's a new video. And they'll be able to see that video on any device. So there's a lot of clever technology going in the background. It's The Azure video streaming is what's delivering the content. That's not 365 itself, it's actually using Azure video streaming. That's what was used for the Olympics, the 2012 Olympics. And so it'll deliver content to any device, it'll frame it accordingly, and it'll take in consideration bandwidth, etc. So kids could actually review it on the bus if there's wireless link. So that's kind of cool. So again, it keeps it all within your environment. You're not using third-party, so consumer-based social media type stuff. It's contained within your environment in terms of compliance, privacy, etc. So they're just a few of the services that are out there. In terms of, again, this mix, this integration between on-premise, client-based stuff, and what's happening in the cloud as well. Makes it easy to go. You okay for time?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. Don't tell me that, I'll go forever. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Right, fantastic. Okay, so anybody, so what are the other, let's just go over here. Let's go over there. So anybody use Sway? Sway, yes. Okay, you've used everything. So I can't talk to you later. That's really good. So one of the services we added was Sway, and this is digital storytelling. So and basically underneath it, from a technical perspective, it's an editor to create HTML type information. So it's a browser-based content editor. So rather than having to know HTML5 or CS or whatever it may be to program a web page, this creates it for you as an editor. So people without those programming skills can do funky stuff. The idea is that rather than using a Word document, a PDF file, or a Google Docs document, or whatever it may be, it creates information that's a little bit more exciting. It's an interactive document. You can swipe in, you can interact with the video and all that kind of good stuff. And it's really cool. It's a great way. I mean, we've had some schools create some amazing sways in terms of the content that they provide. And again, this is a service that's built into 365. It's managed by your good cells. It's all controlled in terms of underlying storage, all that boring stuff in terms of compliance, all built in. So it's protected, etc. It's not a consumer-based product. It's built into Office 365. I can lean back far enough. I'll bring this way. So one of the cool things. So it's just really cool stuff. And as I say, underneath it, it's basically an editor for HTML environment and produce. You don't worry about files or anything like that. It just produces it. And we've got schools using it for newsletters around the school, newsletters to publish it externally to parents, etc. We've got schools using it for portfolio building, so build portfolio in terms of what the student's done and how they're doing it. Parents can see that on parents' evenings, etc. Older students going to colleges and universities, again, using it for portfolio and for CVs. So it kind of makes a very interactive CV. So it's kind of cool. But one of the cool things that teachers really, really like is this option here, start from a topic. So, teachers got an awful lot to do. Sometimes they're running a bit behind the class plan. This very quickly puts a class plan together, in effect. So it can be used for other reasons, but it gives them a way to put a very cool class plan together. Now, I have to be careful. Sometimes the topics are a little bit vague. So I'm going to risk this and take it out to the audience. Give me a topic. Brexit.
Space.
Let's go with the second one. Let's keep it non-political. So we go with space. Is that okay? We'll do Brexit later together and see what happens. We might do all sorts of things. Okay, so I'm doing a lesson on space. I'm going to create an outline. And so this goes out to verified internet sites. And verified meaning that it's not just going to pull anything and everything. You don't get shocked with pornography or some dodgy sites or anything like that. So basically, it goes out and it comes up, puts the heading in that you put in. Sometimes it comes up with sub options. So somebody said psychology once, and came up with a whole load of range of different, obviously sub titles, and we chose a specific one. So it comes out, obviously puts a. So this is the editor. What you're looking at is the editor. It's kind of Word-esque. It's kind of intuitive in terms of use, etc. I can add in videos and links and also embed all sorts of things into the document. I can edit the document directly, etc., etc. So this has gone out and it's pre-filled with some text, with some headings, etc., etc. So this is the, as I say, this is the basic. I don't know who those people are. Anybody over there?
Oh my goodness. All right, okay, so let's see what this is. Philosophy of space. It's gone deep. Right, okay, so when I'm ready, I can then preview this. So, and as I say, it's come up with, so I can swipe, so it's decided that I'm swiping from right to left. Yeah, so, and again, I can have it swiping up and down, etc. So I'm interacting with the document. It's not just a flat document with a few pictures in, I can interact with it. So it's given me some basic headings, not too much, by the way, it's a philosophy of space. It's gone a little bit deep. And then I've got these pictures that I've put in there as to whether they are mathematics, physics, spatial measurement, geographical space, and psychology references, etc. So not a huge amount of information, but you get the idea that I'll go out, and normally I'll put in a lot more text or more information, etc. In there. Let's try. Should we try Brexit just for a laugh? See how it comes up. I might shut this down really quickly, though. Okay. All right, so let's come up with some heading, historical background, 2016 referendum, procedure for leaving the EU, negotiations, blah, 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 etc., etc. So it's pre-built out. Of course, I can edit it, I can add information in there, etc. And then I can preview that. So, not a huge amount of terms of information. So, again, you get the idea. So it kind of creates this basic information. And I can save that, add it to a channel, and people can view it, etc. I can share that with teachers, other teachers, class, externally for newsletters, etc. So it's just an interesting way to provide information. It's a little bit more interactive, a little bit more fun to use. And so this is one we created earlier on the universe. What is the universe, really? So you get this idea that I'm interacting with, there's links in there, there's video, etc., etc. So as I say, it's kind of a cool way to provide digital information, digital storytelling for kids and teachers. All built into 365 environment. I can decide and see that information which I created. You've got teachers using it instead of PowerPoint in the lessons because you can have the kids with it on the device and they're interacting directly with the document on the device in the class. So it's kind of cool. Right, just finally then, I just wanted to do a few updates. Let's just mix out all of that stuff. So as I say, Office 365, been around for 5 years now, so thank you for those of you who signed up to it. Obviously you've got the links. Sometimes, I shouldn't say this, sometimes I think it's named wrong, Office 365. If you do a psychology test and somebody said Microsoft Office, what would you say? What would be your next word? Steady. Okay, we've got editing going on here. Okay, so Microsoft Office equals Word, equals Excel, equals PowerPoint, whatever. It's so much more than that. This platform is for collaboration, real-time communication, and productivity. You're doing all of that on this collaboration platform. Yes, there's an option there to download Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. And hopefully you've got signed up for that for your staff and students. 10 copies, cross devices, for all that good stuff. As part of your package, as part of the offering. But it's also so much more. It's Sway that we just talked about. There's Mix in the background there. There's Teams collaboration, which is like a WhatsApp type tool that you can use. There's Planner for basic task management. There's a whole range of services built in and integrated. For instance, Yammer. Anybody using Yammer? A little bit like Facebook, yeah? So like Facebook, again, that idea of a social media type tool. Now, we've got teachers, my age, just about getting used to emailing and calendaring and stuff like that. But we've got new teachers and students coming in. I don't want to use email, I want to use social media type stuff. So this is all pre-integrated. The whole thing is pre-integrated. So if somebody gets liked, followed in Yammer, Facebook type environment, then the teacher gets an email. If you want them to, you can tick at the box to say, yeah, we'll have the teachers getting an email to say they've been liked and followed, and they can reply to the email that goes into Yammer. It's all pre-integrated underneath. So there's that environment of the whole thing being pre-integrated, etc. Just to give an update, we've now got 113 universities using Office 365 in the UK. At the end of the year, that will be over 130. So we've got a lot of projects going on over the summer holidays. 10,000 schools plus using Office 365, 289 colleges. Again, interesting in terms of anybody from colleges, or is it all anybody from a college? Yeah. So in terms of the area reviews and merging and all that kind of stuff, so that number's going to come down anyway. But again, helping with that in terms of cloud services. We've got the direct connections to the Janet network. Anybody using Janet, which is the private network for college? The private network between colleges and universities, some schools using councils, etc. Department for Education use Office 365. Ministry of Defence, we mentioned them because if they're using it, it's kind of secure. If they're using it. And then we've got the Janet JISC amendments in terms of due diligence of our 365 team of terms and conditions. That represents over 12.5 million accounts around the UK. That's not worldwide, that's UK in terms of education. So UK education. One of the important things that's often missed is Office 365 and employability. Love or hate Microsoft, still the vast majority of all organizations worldwide that use IT productivity services use Microsoft. That's a huge. So in terms of the journey, you saw how many colleges are using Office 365, you saw how many universities in the UK using that journey through from school to college to university to business place, is that familiarity. And what we're finding is something that we didn't think of. So we wanted to make that familiarity. So when we introduced 365, there was a discussion, do we have a cut-down version for education, or do we have the enterprise version? We decided to have the enterprise version. So what you get, enterprise version. There's now parity between you and what our largest businesses use. It's the same service, that familiarity. So when we go into a productivity environment, IT productivity environment, regardless of sector, kids are familiar. But what we didn't account for, and this is really interesting, is the kids going in from college, from university into the workplace, they're adding value. Not only are they familiar with the productivity environment, but they're adding value. Did you, because of their very nature as students, research and intuitive, etc., they're going into the workplace. Well, did you know you could do this with 365? So not only are they familiar with the productivity tools, they're adding value. Kids immediately adding value, and that's a key factor for us, quite exciting. So, yeah, we need to wrap it up. Just wanted to make sure you're aware, these changes were done 18 months ago in terms of the licensing. So you got the free licensing, and then we had this cost for licensing, and that had plug-in and add-on. We kind of merged the two together. So it's Office 365 for education. And the reason I mention that is GDPR. You've got a session on GDPR later. So all that security stuff in terms of encryption, in terms of data loss prevention, information rights management, so I can protect individual files, I can do data loss prevention, I'll stop in data going outside. That's all part of your package. We made that change 18 months ago. Just wanted to mention it just to make sure you're aware of it, especially with GDPR coming down the line. So that's me. So thank you very much for all that you do. It's an exciting time in education, and we're keen to be part of it. Thank you very much.